Okay, for this part of our assignment, we're going to make a perpendicular bisector. So first off, what is a perpendicular bisector? Well, we've already talked about a bisector being cutting something in half. So a perpendicular bisector, if perpendicular means makes a right angle, a perpendicular bisector cuts something in half and makes a right angle with it. So for example, here we have a segment. Usually when we talk about a perpendicular bisector, we'll be talking about a segment. And to be a bisector, we need to find the middle of it, so it cuts in half. There, that point there represents the middle of this segment. The point in the middle is called the midpoint. I know, not a very unique sounding name, but that takes care of the bisector part. That point is in the middle, so the left half and the right half of this segment are the same. The perpendicular part is where we draw a line that's going to make a right angle. So this red line going through this segment is going to be our perpendicular bisector. That means the left side and the right side are the same. That's showing that with the little tick marks. We could also show that with measurements. Say the left side and the right side are both 3 inches. And then it's also perpendicular, so it also makes a right angle. It makes a right angle and goes through the middle. That's a perpendicular bisector. So next we're going to draw that in GeoGebra. So you're going to go to GeoGebra, select the Geometry app, and I'm going to do this for a segment. You're eventually going to do this for a triangle, but either way, the first step is to put your name. So you go under More Tools, go to Text, and over here you're going to type in your name. And you can really put that anywhere on the screen you want, as long as it shows up when you do the cut and paste. Now for you guys, when you do this, you're going to start by drawing a triangle, and you're going to do the perpendicular bisector for one side. I am only going to do a segment. So here I'm going to draw a segment. I'm going to make the perpendicular bisector for a segment. You will do this for one of the sides of the triangle, one segment in the triangle. So step one to do a perpendicular bisector is really easy. You have your shape. And the nice thing about GeoGebra, under the tools, under more, under construct, there's actually a perpendicular bisector tool. So if we select that tool, the perpendicular bisector, all we have to do is click on the segment and bang, there's a perpendicular bisector. We will want to add some points so we can measure the angle and see how that looks, but that's almost it. We're going to do the color change thing too, so you're going to go over here and click on it. Let's make it nice and bright red so we can see it, and let's make it bigger too. There we go, so we can see our perpendicular bisector. We also want to change the label to say perpendicular bisector. So you click on the line in that little menu, pick the letters and type in perpendicular bisector. And I don't even know if it'll let me put a space in there. Let's find out. And click show label, and it is. There it is. Perpendicular bisector label shows up. So that line is now the perpendicular bisector for this segment. If you move it around, you see that it stays making a right angle, and it stays in the middle of that segment. Now we're going to prove it's a right angle. We're going to try to measure one of these angles. Remember from an earlier lesson, if one of these 4 angles is 90, then they're all 90. But in order to measure it, we need some points. So I'm going to take a point and put it right where the perpendicular bisector meets a segment. And I'm going to put a point somewhere else on the perpendicular bisector. It doesn't really matter where, but just off the line that or the segment that you're doing it to. And then under the measure tools, we're going to select angle. And we're going to measure one of these angles. I'm going to click points D, C, A, and we get a 90-degree angle. If you can't see it, of course, go to the arrow tool and you can drag it out where you can see it. But no matter what you do to this thing, it's going to make a 90-degree angle and go through the middle of it. Once you've done that, and yours, again, yours will look something like this, but it'll be a triangle. Start by using the polygon tool and draw a triangle. You'll have something that looks closer to this. This isn't exactly right because it's not a polygon, and you can still mess this up if you move it too much. But you are going to have something like this, and then you're going to take a screenshot and drop it into the Google Slides on the page that says perpendicular bisector.